Here is one of the variation of Nimzo Indian and the new way to play against it. C4, E6, knight C3, bishop B4, A3. That's called Sämisch variation. The purpose of this variation of this move A3 is black has to take, white takes back, and for white to quickly regain control in the center. Now, previously I did mention and I did talk in a previous opening repertoire tapes, bishop A6 and knight C6 variation. That's the one we're going to discuss now with a new aspect and new evaluation of this variation, a new way to play in it. Because I have some doubts about the previously recommended variation, and that's the way theory goes. Theory variation gets outdated, and they get improved, and the new variations come. So here is what we're going to do now. We're going to go B6. It's the one of the possible continuation, and C5 is the other one. B6, white goes F3, black goes bishop A6, E4, and knight is C6. This is a well-known setup. White has total control in the center, and black plays against the weak C4 pawn. So after F3, now after F3, white played F3, bishop A6, E4, knight C6. Now it's white's move. White has two moves, bishop G5 and bishop D3. On bishop G5, the best move we think, and I think, and I would recommend, is simply queen C8, continuing knight A5 plan, and it will be approximately the same way as we play in the main variation, which we're gonna explore right now. So main move is bishop D3, and that's the move we're going with. White plays bishop D3, black plays knight A5, white plays queen E2, and black plays queen C8. Now, what's the purpose for this move, queen C8? Black wants to play sometimes maybe queen B7 and queen C6 and put more pressure on C4 pawn, which is going to be very difficult for white to defend. And here main move for white is E5, knight G8, and F4. Black goes knight E7 and white goes knight F3. Now, what I did recommend earlier was queen B7, and I have some doubts about this position, and I would recommend to play in this position D5 move. This is a very interesting move which you cannot evaluate just strategically. It's a very much dynamic position, and if black plays well and accurately, they will have very good game. White forced to take C takes D. Notice that taking en passant is not good for white because black plays C takes D and C4 pawn is under severe attack. So the correct move is C takes D. Black has to play bishop takes D3. White plays queen takes D3, and black plays E takes D. This is the critical position of the variation, of the way that we play this variation. Everything here is, evaluation of this position is depending on the way, if we can block the F5 square, and if we can establish the blockade of light squares. For example, what I mean by that, knight F5 and H5, if black can maintain this blockade and knight C4, they will simply have an advantage. So the way it may go is this. In this position, it's white's move, and white may play knight h4. Now, what do we want to do here? White tries to go f5. If white plays castle, I have to tell you that if you simply go queen f5 here, and followed by h5, or even go g6, actually g6 is the better move. What's wrong about queen f5 that white may take on f5, and after knight takes f5, go g4. So we don't want white to go g4 in this position, and after we retreat to go f5. Then white has a very strong pawn center. So the way we want to play this position, we want to go g6. And if white goes knight h4, then we go knight f5. And the critical position after knight takes f5, queen takes f5, queen takes f5, and g takes f is clearly better for black. Black brings the king on e6 and knight on c4. Black's knight on c4 will be much, much stronger than white's bishop on c1. Black has big positional advantage. So white has to prevent black from establishing this blockade. So knight h4 move serves this purpose. And after g6, again, black is preparing for knight f5, and white goes f5. Now knight takes f5, knight takes f5, queen takes f5, queen takes f5, pawn takes f5, and white castles. This position is very difficult to evaluate, maybe impossible to evaluate without further analysis. And further analysis that I provided here, and I analyzed this position very carefully again with my student Eugene Perlstein, and we came to definite conclusion that black is at least equal. Well, how should we play this position? If white plays next move, rook takes f5, and develop the bishop on h6 or g5, they may have significant advantage, but it's black's move. Everything depends here on timing. Black plays c5. Again, black does not give white easy time to capture the pawn on f5. For example, if rook takes f5, then simply c takes d, c takes d, and knight b3, followed by knight takes d4, attacking white's rook and white's pawn on d4. Black simply wins the pawn. Well, one of the variations is for white, d takes c, then we go knight b3. And now we're going to recapture on c5 with the pawn or with the knight, depending where white rook goes. For example, if rook goes to b1, we will play knight takes c5, rook takes f5, and rook c8. Now you see that black's knight is going to go to e4, and white is going to have significant problem. This position is better for black. Now, the other way to play, white may go rook a2. And on rook a2, we play pawn takes c5. There is pawn on f5. And obviously, white cannot take on f5 because knight is going to take white's bishop on c1. And if white plays bishop g5, then we go rook g8. And after rook takes f5, black goes rook b8. And after rook af8, black simply plays rook b7. And you can see black has great position here. It's very difficult for white to do anything. On a move like bishop h6 or bishop f6, black can simply go knight c1, trying to go knight d3, or even push the d pawn. White has absolutely nothing here, and in my opinion, black is simply has a better position. This is like a quick preview, and it's not even a preview, quick layout of the way to play in Sämisch variation of Nimzo Indian. So that's kind of an improvement from the opening repertoire tape we had, and if you have that tape, notice this improvement, that's some adjustment, and that's what you do.